As you can see, the pastry is reasonably crumbly and soft because it's really nice and thin. I'm going to brush it with a nice amount of maple syrup because you've got that beautiful top and you want to glaze it all as well. A little bit of maple syrup on the side and cream. What I have in the pot here is my glucose. We're going to add the sugar to that. We've got some really nice brown sugar, some granulated sugar. We've also got some butter and that can go in the pan as well. What we're going to do is just bring that to the boil. Now what I've also done here while that's just coming up to the boil, I've diced some squash, okay, butternut squash. You can use pumpkin, you can use really whatever you like. I've blanched it in boiling water for about 3 minutes. Okay, so while that's working away there, let's make our sweet pastry. This is a nice simple recipe: flour, sugar, a little bit of vanilla, butter and eggs. And we're going to make it in a machine. Doesn't take a lot. You can see that straight away coming to that nice sandy texture. Important to get it all off the sides, like when you're making pasta or anything in these machines. You've got a set recipe: icing sugar, flour, butter, a little bit of vanilla, which can go in now. Okay, now I'll add my egg yolks. I've got 2 egg yolks, which are going to go in there as well. And I'm going to give it just a quick blend, and then I'm going to pull it out and finish it off working it on the bench. Okay, that's us. So let's work that nicely together. I'm just kneading that together. Then I generally do a bit of a roll so that you roll it around and pick up all the little bits. Okay, so as soon as you've done that, see I've sort of flattened it out into a nice, flat, round, neat, and then I'm just going to cling film that and put that in the fridge and let it rest. And my mix for the pecan pie has just come up to a boil, and what we're going to do is we've got everything beautifully dissolved in there. It looks pretty much like a nice thick caramel sauce. We're going to add our sugar into that. We're going to add our dark rum into that. Just mix that through. And then we can start thinking about adding the rest of the other ingredients. So pecans, a little bit of really nice orange zest that I've zested. Put our squash in there. If you want to put in more squash, less squash, I mean, go for your life. And then our eggs, which we're going to sort of beat those through as well. So we'll just let that rest there for a minute, and let's roll out our tart shell. The best way I was ever taught for dealing with short pastry was to keep it really, really cold. But to sort of work it, it needs to be at room temperature. As soon as the butter in this pastry starts to melt, that's where you're going to have problems where it starts to droop through your hands and just doesn't work. It's one of those things, if you get this pastry wrong, it's an absolute nightmare. It's one of the worst, it's one of the most frustrating things in the kitchen when something like this goes wrong. And then just roll it up, pretty much ready to go. I'm going to spray my mould. Now this is way too big, but the size of the mould, but it gives you a good sort of idea of what's going on. Roll it over, and then we just start picking it up and pushing it in. And then if you want to take the top off, you just sort of simply roll across with your rolling pin. You can get the back of a knife and scrape it off. You can even do it with your hands if you still want to get a little bit of extra down through the sides. And there you sort of have it, is a nice little lined tin. So once we've done that, we're just going to rest that in the fridge. The idea is that we rest that for at least 25 minutes. Rest it longer. Make it the day before is good as well. So back out of the fridge, and then we're going to blind bake it. Then we'll just sit them in, line it, push it down to the bottom so you're making sure you're getting all this rice or beans or whatever you're using nicely into the sides. Put it straight in the oven like that. Okay, so once your little tart shell has been in there for about probably almost 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. You've got a nice little bit of colour on it. Remove all your grains, all the paper, everything. Then I would get some egg wash and egg wash it. Just pure egg yolk. So you're brushing that egg yolk on the centre. And then put it back in the oven for a further 8 minutes or so. We've got our lovely mix here, which looks fantastic. It's glistening, it's got a nice amount of pecans and nice little bit of sweetness from the pumpkin. Then you really want to just dish it out and dish it into these little individual moulds. And then we've got some separated little pecans here, which we can do around the top. And that's just really a presentation thing, I guess. Looks nice and neat. In the oven with that. Turn the oven down to about 160 degrees, and you're baking that for anything from about 25 to 35 minutes. Out comes our little pecan pie. It's been in there probably about 30 minutes now. It's nicely cooked, I'm going to serve it as it is like that. It should be served warm. So I'm going to pop that out of the shell. As you can see, the pastry is reasonably crumbly and soft because it's really nice and thin. Whipped cream, a little bit on the plate. That's what my tart's going to sit on so it doesn't start roaming around the plate on me. I'm going to brush it with a nice amount of maple syrup because you've got that beautiful top and you want to glaze it all as well. A little bit of maple syrup on the side and cream. There you have it, guys. Quinella cream, nice little pecan pie with pumpkin through it and orange. A little bit of extra maple syrup on the side. Done.